Shalom and welcome to this week's Living Torah. Before I get into this Torah portion, it's that Torah portion. Not only is it that Torah portion, it's those Torah portions, as this year we have combined, and it is Tzara'at or She Conceives and Tzara'at. Always those that, people are like cringing on these. Just hold on for a moment, okay? I do want to announce for anyone that doesn't know about it that we have put together the Connect to Israel tour for 2025, and the dates are October 19th through the 31st. This is right after Sukkot, and information is on connecttoisrael.org, the itinerary. The price, I was able to put that together with a very, very minimal increase from the last tour that we did of $2,850 plus the 150 tips. And I don't believe, I don't want to speak against other tours that are out there, because there are, in my estimation, there are one or two that are actually worth going on. The vast majority of them are no more than a Constantinian's mom tour. It's just my opinion, but people, for whatever reason, however they get there, maybe they will connect with the land and people in spite of those other things. But this is a very biblical tour. We're going through the area of Judea, Samaria, into Jerusalem, up to the Temple Mount, God willing. We'll be up in the Galilee, in the Golan, and then along the coast, coming back to Carmel, and various places along the way. There's going to be a lot of really good things. Some things I've never done on a tour before, and I'm looking forward to that. So we do not do what I call the zoo tour, which is 50 or so people on a bus. We limit our numbers, and so we do have openings for this tour. If you would like information on that, please go to connecttoisrael.org. Maybe you can't, but maybe you could help sponsor someone that needs to go. A child, even a grandchild. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and we were talking about the security situation, and I said to them, I will not take you somewhere I would not take my own grandchildren. And there is where we go in Israel, I feel totally safe at all times. There's no, in my estimation right now, there is no danger. Life is dangerous, okay? But we're not going into areas that could put you in a danger. So I don't understand why more in this walk with parents, grandparents, why there is not more of an emphasis on sending our children, our grandchildren, to Israel to connect with the land, the people, and the God of Israel. It is not a life-changing experience in my estimation. It is a life-defining experience. All right, with that, we're going to go into Leviticus, Vayikra, chapter 12, verse 1. We're going to go all the way to chapter 15, verse 33. And it begins with this, tell the people, if a woman conceives, gives birth to a boy, she will be clean for 7 days, and the same uncleanliness as in Nidah, when she is having her period. On the 8th day, the baby's foreskin is to be circumcised. These words, the 8th day, we talked about that last week with the Torah portion Shemini. On the 8th day, now I just typed in 8th day, and the exact, you can type into, I use Blue Letter Bible, and you can type in like 8th day. It will come up with anytime the word 8th and the word day are in a verse. That's something like 51 times. But the exact match of 8th day is found 21 times in the King James, and it is actually 5 times in this Torah portion. So maybe if we see, 20% plus of the words eighth day that are found in this Torah portion. Maybe it's trying to tell us something. Let's go in there and see. In order to set that up, let's go to the 5 times that it's used. First of all is, as I just read, chapter 12, verse 3. The second time is in chapter 14, verse 10. On the 8th day, he is to take 2 male lambs without defect. It goes on from there. So you can, I hope, pray that you're reading the Torah portion and you'll go and you know, I underline these 5 times in this Torah portion to remind me of how important this one is. I personally feel that probably, in the millennium, when it's not you tuning into YouTube or Vimeo or whatever to listen to me, that we're going to be in some way hearing the living Torah himself as he's teaching the Torah. And there's probably, I just have this thought in my mind, that there's going to be people that when it comes to, the Torah portion on She Conceives and Tzara'at, they're going to go, oh, really? Okay, what do we got to hear now? And we're probably going to be sitting there just absolutely mesmerized at the truth that is in these Torah portions, and in the end going, why didn't we see that? Why? Because maybe it's the attitude that, not to you guys, of course, but maybe it's the attitude that some people come into it with. If you get to that page turn between Exodus and Vayikra, Leviticus, and you're like, oh, I've just got to get through this. And Vayikra to you is like, going to the dentist. What's the chances that we're not going to get much out of that if we do? Instead of turning the page and saying, here is the heart of the Torah. I'm going to see the center letter of the Torah, the center sentence of the Torah. It's all going to be, here's the heart of it. And this is going to explain to me the literal heartbeat of the Father and of the living Torah. So maybe, coming into it with a little bit different attitude would really help out in the end. So in chapter 14, verse 10, 14, verse 23 is on the 8th day he will bring them to the Kohen for his purification. Let's go over to chapter 15, verse 14. On the 8th day he is to take for himself 2 doves, 2 young pigeons. And then down in verse 28, 29, on the 8th day, she is to take for herself 2 doves, 2 young pigeons. What's all this about? How do we deal with this 8th day? What is it about? I'm going to take it to 2 words. Number 1, it's about dedication. All right, the circumcision of the young boy on the 8th day is about dedicating him to the Creator, to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Now, Catholicism, and of course that's in the news right now because of the death of the Pope, and this, I'm just going to leave that alone as far as any comments. I didn't watch the funeral because I really don't enjoy pagan events. Well, I guess I did say something, huh? This thing that's going on now with these secret meetings, anybody believes that this has anything to do with righteousness, I'll just say they're naive, okay? But this stuff that's going on with the black smoke and the white smoke and all of that stuff, I think they're just smoking too much or something. I don't know. Moving on. It's about dedication. Now, the Catholic Church has, of course, and I don't know much about the Catholic Church really, but it is the christening, okay, the christening of a baby. We see this circumcision as a dedication, kind of the same concept, but one of them being biblical, the other one being something that man came up with. But let's face it, anyone that has been through the process of raising children understands this, that on the 8th day, that child does not have the maturity to make a decision. We can dedicate, what are we actually dedicating? Are we dedicating the child, or are we dedicating ourselves to the child? Maybe the answer is yes, in a way. But as a child grows, comes to that age of 13, a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah today, an age of as it would have been in ancient Israel, an age in which the child would have accepted the responsibility for themselves to obey or to study the Torah, not for their parents' sake, but for their sake, which is why Yeshua was in the temple when his parents, kind of walked off and forgot about him. And then at age 19, at the tradition of 2,000 years ago, is the person would accept the responsibility of living what they have learned for themselves. All right. A child does not have the ability to make that decision. It is scriptural, I think, that it's, the age of 12 and 13. I have seen children that were mature enough to make that decision earlier. I've seen children that were not mature enough to make that decision at that time. This is a decision to live for Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, our Creator, to follow His commandments, to receive His way of redemption for us in Messiah. This is something that we should not pin, I don't believe, should pin to a date, a birthday, a time, but yet we should be active in their lives and guiding them toward that decision, but then waiting for that decision to come forth from the Spirit of Yah, actually dealing with that child at the right time. So, this thing is about dedication. It's also about, the 8th day is about cleansing. Now, I want to go to verses that I use quite often. These are verses that, I go to them quite often because I just love the theme of this, and it's in Revelation chapter 21. Yeah, you got it. When we get all the way through everything, and through that 7th day, and then we enter into the 8th day. Well, let's read this because I can and because I like to. Revelation chapter 21. Then I saw a new heaven, or renewed heaven, a renewed earth, for the old heaven, the old earth had passed away, and the sea was no longer there. Also I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from Elohim, prepared like a bride for her, beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne say, "See, Elohim's kavod, His glory is with mankind. He will live with them, they will be His people, and He Himself, Elohim with them, will be their Elohim." Now, most of the time I'd stop there. I'm going to keep going because of this idea of she conceives, Tzara'at, and the 8th day. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. What is that? That is about cleansing. We will have a time I don't know. We're not told about eternity. We're not told if we're going to remember. We're not told if we will know each other as we did upon this earth. Okay, there's a lot of speculation that is there, but it is in the end speculation. The only thing I can go to is eye has not seen, ear has not heard. neither is it entered into the heart of mankind, the things that he has prepared for us. Folks, as much as you, as I may dream about, think about, consider that time of eternity, there's no even allegory that I can come up with to describe how far it is from our thinking process of what that's going to be. But he says, I will wipe away every tear, which is for those who have dedicated themselves to the eighth day. He is going to purify us by our very own tears and then wiping them away. And will that be a wiping away of what has been and the hurt? I don't know. I'll let you know when we're there. There will no longer be any death. The thought. I've buried grandparents, my mother, my father. To imagine, it's like Isaiah chapter 2, they will learn war no more. Can you imagine a life in which there is no death? Can you imagine not having a hospital? Can you imagine not having a mortuary? Because there's no sickness. There's no pain. You don't, that's not even a part of who you are anymore. And there will be no longer any mourning, crying, or pain because the old order has passed away. And I'm just going to keep reading. Then the one sitting on the throne said, look, I am making everything new. He also said, write these words. These words are true and trustworthy. He said to them, it is done. I am, and of course King Jimmy says the Alpha and Omega. Pretty silly that a Jewish Hebrew-speaking Messiah would be speaking Greek, and kind of pretty silly that he would be speaking English. So I'm going to put it into Hebrew. I am the Aleph and the Tav. Going back to the center letter, the center word of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and this one who comes up all through Scripture. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. To anyone who is thirsty, I myself will give water free of charge from the fountain of life. He who wins the victory will receive these things. I will be his Elohim, his God, and he will be my son. But as for the cowardly, untrustworthy, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who misuse drugs in connection with the occult, idol worshippers, and all liars, their destiny is in the lake burning with fire and sulfur, the second death. A day in which he will wipe away all tears. I'll let you just kind of deal with all of those verses on your own. Tzara'at, okay? We're not told what it is, the same as we're not told what the unauthorized fire of Avinu Nevinat, whatever his name is, the sons of Aaron. My mind is still kind of in that eighth day thing. So we're not told exactly what it is. Why? Because if we were told what the unauthorized fire was, we would go, oh, but I haven't done that. If we were told exactly what this Tzara'at is, this leprosy, it's translated leprosy, I don't have that, so I must be okay. But this Tzara'at, this leprosy is something, and I know there's Hodgkin's disease or something like that, which is basically, I think is related to it at least, but it's about the eating away of your flesh. What is your flesh? Your flesh is the dirt man that houses your real man, or your dirt woman that houses your real woman. Okay, is that which is housing you. It is that which allows us to connect in this physical realm. It is not possible for us to connect in this physical realm without this body. The moment that this body dies, it begins to decay, and our spirit man or woman can no longer interact in this realm. And so what is Tzara'at? What is leprosy? It is something that's eating away at our ability to interact in this realm. Okay, I hope that I'm kind of making that fairly clear. If you have a disease, what is that doing? If you have, pain in one of your joints, it's causing you to not be able to interact properly in this realm. If you have something going on with your heart, you're not able to interact as well. You're not going to be able to go out and be a part of sports or a lot of activities. Why? Because there is a type of Tzara'at that is keeping you from interacting to the highest level in this realm. So this Tzara'at thing is something that we have a choice in what we do with it. We can go back to Genesis chapter 3, and we can find the root. The root of Tzara'at in this world is the fall of mankind. Okay, but so we can deal with the root, which I believe is Messiah himself, or we can continue to try to deal with the fruit of Tzara'at. Let me put it like this, and I'm not being judgmental. I'm just stating a fact that medical science today has, and I'll have people that are applauding and some that aren't, but medical science has not cured anything. There is not, I don't know of a disease that medical science has actually cured. They have found through the drug industry and various other things, they have found ways to cover those things up. So Tzara'at is kind of like, we have a choice. We can deal with the fruit, or we can deal with the root. This year I decided, we've been in this house for about 9 years, and the people that had it before us did a lot of landscaping. I question in a couple of places their wisdom in the landscaping. One place they put this bush. It's a beautiful bush. It's got some really bad thorns, which I can't stand it because of that, because every time I get out there and try to prune this thing, I'm getting cut up. But it's this bush that it doesn't just grow, out of the root and up. It sends out roots out into the rest of the yard, in the rest of the garden area, and then those it shoots up. So this thing is like all over the place, and I've been covering it up. I've been cutting it back. So every year I'd go out there with a weed eater if I got in time, or with the pruners, and I'd cut back those little shoots. But what's going to happen? Well, the next year it comes up and it's even worse. This year, during February, I think it was, I got out there and I cut that thing all the way back, as far as I could. Well, still got a problem. It's going to come back up. And I can do the same thing. And eventually it's going to come to, grow up the same way it was. Or I got some brush killer. And everywhere that I cut that thing, I sprayed it down. I saturated that thing with brush killer. And then the shoots that I left up, well, as soon as they got leaves on them, I'm hitting that with the brush killer. And looks like, here it is into the month of May, it's dead. Why? Because I dealt with the root. Another example, many years ago, I was blessed in that the Father delivered me from having to sell cars. There's not many things I would say in this life that I hate. That's one that I despised, that business. Blessings for somebody that can do it. I couldn't do it. The Father blessed me literally with owning a carpet company after working with someone. And I'd get a call and somebody'd say, I've got a stain in my carpet. The kid in that day, Kool-Aid was all over. Kool-Aid was a great blessing to me financially. And someone would say, I've got Kool-Aid or some wine or something that I've spilled on the carpet. And I had a few choices. I could go over there. I could and sometimes extract it from the carpet, or if it was really bad, I would have to cut the piece of carpet out that was stained, and I could piece another one in, or tell the person, just put a rug over it and cover it up. So this is all to ask ourselves this question: are we dealing with the root? Are we dealing with the stain? Are we going through the process to cut it out? Or, I think it's time, honey, to buy a new rug. And let's just act like that stain is not there, and we'll put a rug over the top of it, which is fine until you go to sell the house and the prospective buyer says, I don't like that rug. And then they find out that you had this stain that you covered up and did not disclose. So are we walking this out, trying to cover things up, or dealing with it? If we don't deal with it, we will live with it, which is, in my opinion, not a real good option. Now, in order to really hit home on this thing, we need to go to chapter 14. In chapter 14, if you're having an issue with me at some point along this already, you're really not going to like me now, okay? But you've stayed with me this long. In verse 34, when you have entered the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as a possession, and I put an infection of Tzara'at in the house, in the land that you possess. Now, the word here of I am giving you is ani natan. Ani natan. And it is the same wording. It doesn't actually say I put, but it is vav natan. So he is connecting the Tzara'at that is in the house with it being the same one who is giving the possession. I am giving you the land as your possession, and I am giving you Tzara'at in order to deal with some things that you need to deal with as I'm giving you that possession. Now, the word Natan is first used in Genesis chapter 1, verse 17. I will set. It is establishing. I will set the sun and moon. So this is he is establishing the land of Israel to his people Israel. And by the way, we have in the days, I think it's Wednesday, which will be yesterday by the time this goes out. But we look at May 14th, but on the Hebrew calendar, the Day of Independence, and a day that Isaiah chapter 66, can a nation be born in a day? And the Almighty said, absolutely. And it is because of this Natan, of his establishing. The word Natan is nun, tav, and a final nun. And this is my picture. I'm actually recording in just a few minutes another message on the first 5 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and how the gospel is preached in those first 5 letters. That'll be available, it will be available by the time of this recording on our website, jointohashem.org. A little commercial there. So this is my picture. The noon is about life, the tav is about covenant, and the final noon is about, I'm going to say, eternal life. So it is the tav, the covenant, that is affecting our earthly life to our eternal life. We could say it from the 7 days is the noon, and the 8th day is the final noon. This is about what is going to take us from this earthly realm into that eternal realm. I did not say heavenly realm. I've taught them the differences there. We're going to be on this earth, I believe, according to Scripture. It doesn't matter what a person's opinion is. What does Scripture say? Read the last chapter, the last few verses of Isaiah 66. So what is it that takes us from this earthly life to this temporal life to this eternal life is the covenant, which is Messiah. I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the strength of the covenant, is what he was saying. So he is the one that takes us from one realm to another realm. With that, let me just make a statement for maybe for your enjoyment, that he is more dedicated to us than we are to him. Now, I know that, I know people that are very dedicated to him. But, with that said, as dedicated as you are to him is nothing compared to how dedicated he is to us. It is his dedication to his word, to his covenant, and to those who have entered into that covenant that will take us from one realm, the realm of the 7th day, into the realm of the 8th day. So he says, I put this Tzara'at. Now, people being people, I would imagine that when someone came down with Tzara'at, or there was found Tzara'at in the house, that all the excuses began to come forth. One of my favorite statements, Will Rogers, people change, but not much. And so people are probably, were people then, the same as we are people today. And the same excuses that are given today probably were given then. You and I don't need to be, I don't need to be calling out all the excuses, but as someone has been in pastoral ministry for over 30 years now, I wouldn't say that I've heard all of them, because whenever I think I've heard all of them, I find out I haven't. But I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of excuses for people's actions. And it really comes down to this, is my excuse is my reason for not dealing with the issue. My excuse is my reason for not dealing with the issue. Now, with that said, there are things that happen to us in our lives. I have never met anyone that has not had something happen to them in their lives. I have sat with people and cried. I have mourned with them. I have become angry with them. There are bad things that happen to people, children, Because of working up at Camp Mashiach this year, all of the leadership had to go through an online abuse. And abuse is not just in a physical sense. Each of us had to go online, go through an abuse seminar, and pass the test at the end. Thankfully, I got all the questions right. But I have to tell you that bringing my years of ministry into that 45 minutes of video, it was painful because I had to go through and think about a lot of people I have ministered to. I had to think, it brought back memories of my own life. These are things that we deal with. And so we can justify our actions based upon something that happened to us that was, by the way, maybe not our fault. Okay? There are things that happen to us that are our fault. I've gotten myself into plenty of situations in my life and, looked up to the heavens and said, this is my fault. Can you help me get out of this? But there are other things that happen to us that are not our fault. Okay? But just because it's not our fault does not make it into an excuse for our present behavior. Because when we look to, when we look to the one who is the center of the covenant, he can help us in dealing with those issues. The question is, do we desire to deal with them for eternal gain or cover them up for so-called earthly gain? Let's say, let's say you go out and you twist your ankle and you fracture it. Okay, that's going to make a real difference in your ability to interact in this earthly realm. You have a choice. You can either go to a doctor and have that x-rayed and go through the process. Maybe it's a cast, or maybe it's to the point that you have to go through a surgery and have, metal pins put in there. Maybe it's something to that extreme, and it's going to be painful. It's going to affect your living, your interaction in this realm for a time. But it's something that has to be done in order for there to be a total repair of those tendons, of the bones, a redemption, a restoration of those things. Or you can go to down to Walgreens or wherever, go behind the locked cabinets. Try to find somebody to open a cabinet for you, so you can buy one of those slip-on sleeve compression bandage. There you go. I haven't had to use one much, so you can buy a compression bandage, and you can buy maybe a tube of Bengay or some kind of muscle relaxant. And you can sit in your recliner the rest of your life. You're not going to be interacting, but, and things may heal back good. They may not. In the end, you may be stuck there for the rest of your life. Why? Because of refusing to deal with the issue. Covering up for temporary earthly realm gain. What is that earthly realm gain? Well, I don't feel the pain right now. Okay, people go and get on drugs and all kinds of things. Why? So they don't have to feel the immediate pain. But in the end, are taken out of the ability to fully operate in this earthly realm because they're not willing to deal with the root of the issue. We have a choice today. Which one are we going to do? How is, I'll just kind of throw some questions out. I'm not pointing any fingers here, but in the end, how is that covering up working? So maybe if we come to the end and say it's not working real well, then maybe it's time to go through what really needs to happen to, what that may be is up to every individual situation probably. But are we willing to go to the root word, the root issue? And that may be like that operating room table and, being cut open and putting pins, metal rods in something. We have to look at the end result. And at times you have to go through a lot of pain now to have freedom from pain then. Tzara'at is a sign of the Father's love. It's a sign of his love. It would have been unloving for him to leave the Hebrews in their paganism, in their wandering, whatever you want to call it. But because of his love, he gave the person Tzara'at. Because of his love, he put and revealed Tzara'at in the house. In Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24, it says, "He who fails to use a stick hates his son." I probably like King James better in this. "He who spares the rod spoils the child." But I'll just go with it here. "He who fails to use a stick hates his son, but he who loves him is careful to discipline him." What is Tzara'at? Tzara'at is this verse that a father, a parent who loves their child will discipline their child. If you see a parent walk, in Walmart or wherever it is, and they're letting their child just run around and do anything, cause havoc, confusion, yelling, screaming, whatever, and that parent does not discipline the child, then I'll say it like this: maybe they don't understand how to love the child. Well, I don't want to show discipline. I don't want to do. Listen, folks. Love is, Jim Dobson wrote a book many years ago, Focus on the Family, of reality discipline. It should be a required reading for every parent, every grandparent. Grandparents, we can be the problem because, well, I've raised the children, now I'll spoil the grandchildren. Yeah, what are you doing? We are causing a problem, an issue for our children. Your grandkids come over, it's like, well, here's some candy, but don't tell mommy and daddy. Really? So you're undercutting the authority of your mom and dad. Well, I know that the children don't, I know the grandkids are not allowed to do this at their house, but we're at grandma's house or grandpa's house, and we're just going to spoil them and then give them back. That's not love. That's not love. The shepherd had a staff. The staff was used to guide the sheep. The staff was also used to discipline the sheep. The Father is the perfect shepherd. Yud-He Vav-He. The letters of his name, Yud-He and Vav-He, are literally about the two attributes of his judgment and his grace and mercy. I was with a Chabad rabbi last week, amazing time, and we talked about this for it ended up being a 2-hour conversation over coffee. It was good. It was one of those moments, it's like I'm looking around going, how in the world did I get here? But I talked to him about this because he was teaching in his class on the Tzara'at tree, the tree of life, which is about the two attributes of Yud-He and Vav-He, of judgment and mercy. And there is a prayer in Judaism that actually is praying, may the attributes of Yud-He and Vav-He come together as one. So if we are to be like him, then we're going to have those, and we can never reach that balance. He is a perfect balance between judgment and mercy, between judgment and grace. He is an absolute perfect balance. We are not. We're going to tip the scales a little bit here, a little bit back over there, kind of like the pendulum swing. We're going to do that a little bit, but our desire should be to show grace and mercy and judgment, because as I read in Revelation chapter 21, he will wipe away the tears from our eyes because of his grace. But for those that did not receive his grace in the covenant, they will be judged. Go back and read that list. There's not going to be a lot of, I don't feel that it's going to be, he's going to be saying, well, I know you were doing this, but, and cover up. There'll be no cover up on those days, folks. So maybe we just ought to go ahead and live our life today with no cover up. I wonder how that would change some things in our lives. I'll leave it with that. I'll leave you with that one. Shabbat Shalom. Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem. God willing. See you again next week. And until then, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.